All right, legend. I got a little bit of egg on my face because one of the guys in the comments were like, "Oh, you should be getting some karma after what you said about Scoop's team, saying he had a shit week." And that was right. I you beat me by 50, but we both didn't get a good score. So, mate, talk us through that bloody Penasini situation at the end there with that crazy updates. That was just ridiculous.
Mate, the Eels don't like us this year. They keep changing people's positions, whether people are on the bench or not. And can the scorers please have some consistency this year? Because they just don't care. Penasini without Moses scores terrible. And I really thought I'd got away with one when he finished on 36. And then I wake up in the morning and he's down to 20. When you surely updates maybe one, two, three, four. But Cherry Evans went up 17. Penasini went down 16. Can we just actually know what's going to go on and not have to wait for Monday, please? It's
What did they take
ridiculous.
away?
They took away two tackle breaks, added a missed tackle, took away a tackle, a turnover, and an offload to hand. How do you score an
What?
offload to hand and then take it away? Like, isn't that really obvious whether it's happened or not?
So just no offload at all.
Yeah, they just took it away.
But did hold on, but did he actually have any of these stats, or did they just score it wrong?
I reckon they probably scored a good chunk of it wrong
Okay,
because he didn't look like he did anything. And it
right.
was kind of surprising that he got to 36, and I was a bit relieved. And then they just took it all off and was like,
Okay,
no.
so you weren't following like every move like I do, every step they take on the
So when
field, that
when
kind
I'm
of thing.
watching, I try to, but I zone in too much on certain players, and then I miss
Yeah,
others.
yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah, just another shocking week, man. 709 for yourself. I was
Yeah.
650 odd, so
I
not
lost
not great.
200 ranks. So basically, at that point, at
Oh wow.
this bad rank, that still is about a par or lose rank score.
Ugh, mate, let's talk about some of the positives. You've obviously still holding Cleary, so that's good. And Turbo had a 66 for you. Outside of
Yeah,
that, yeah,
that
where do
was
we go
pretty
from here?
good. Look, I don't know what I'm going to do with Kiraz. It's just that there's more other fires that I can do that I can get rid of. Like Penasini is now more urgent than Kiraz, sort of a thing. Like
Oh
he
yeah, got
averages,
you.
I think, 28 without Moses, and he's started with 220. So out he needs to go before he gets down to 400k.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
fair.
that's probably one of my trades this week. Penasini, I'm torn as to whether to go Iro or Stewart because Stewart's safe, but Iro, if he stays there, will make a lot of money and is a gun. I
Hmm.
just don't know how to read that situation. My other trade is probably Chan to Angus.
Yep.
Maybe Blore, but like I feel like Angus doesn't need to do tons to make money at his price. Like we've seen his pedigree. His pedigree is huge. He used to be one of the top scorers in the position. And if he gets 55, 60 minutes, he can score 40. And at his price, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so you'll find if people are looking at Crichton, you'll find with him getting, if it is 60 minutes, still think it's enough. And then bonus on top of that.
Yeah, well, I think I sort of was thinking whether it was good or not, and then I stopped and thought and I said, hang on, this is just Helam Lukey, but 50k cheaper and with more pedigree. So like if we were keen on
Yeah.
Lukey, like
Yeah, that's so true.
what's the go with not buying a 430k Angus or whatever it is?
Yeah, 440. That's yeah, that's as easy as pie, that one. Yeah, cool. Let's go through the cheapies, mate, while we're there. So are you I'm of the call that Iro is the best of the lot, but doesn't not come without risks, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. We've been hyping him up for a while that this bloke is fantasy relevant. He's got a fantasy relevant game. Look at those tackle busts. He's got good attack and he scores really, really well in reserve grade. And
Mm.
boom, we got that straight away. I mean, it's got a try assist, a line break, and a try to get to 49, but he's sub 300k. He's a basement price guy. What do you want? He could, if he stays there, well get up to like 600 sort of a thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could have games that are bigger than that, I suppose, if you can get the 200 odd meters or get a good line break or something like that.
Yeah,
Even
look at that Bulldogs
offloading
game when his debut, 12 tackle breaks. That's the type of player he is.
with 5 errors. Wild game. And as you said there, the cup stats are really good as well. And I suppose that's something we need to think about with Jai Gray. And there was one of the boys messaged me and said that Latrell came out and said, "Oh, I'm happy to play anywhere, wherever the team needs me. So there's a little bit of a narrative that, Gray could potentially keep the fullback slot as well. But he's such a tough run. Obviously, this week Sharks, and then it's bye into Storm and Panthers, and then that's when Latrell comes back after that. So what do you think of him compared to
I th-
Chevy as well? We'll
Look,
go for those two.
I think Jai Gray is Keeney again. He's got a bye. He's got a
Oh
limited
yeah.
time span, and although his scoring is good, like we thought Keeney would score 40s, and he scored 20 basically. Gray could be really good,
Mm,
and he might be,
yeah.
but like Rabbitohs are pretty ordinary at the moment.
Mm.
And if they're missing players and they've got players not performing and they've blown up the team, I don't have a lot of faith that he'll do too well. So I think Jai Gray will make money. I just think it could be like, oh, who's a good comparison from last year? I'm sort of struggling to come up with somebody.
Chester kind of got the 3 or 4 games, but he did pretty well.
Yeah, even Chester probably. I don't know if he'll quite do quite as well as Chester, but yeah, I
Near
mean,
40 average kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, he'll
He's
be
someone
all
that's
right. I just don't have tons of faith that he'll get more than about 70 or 80K.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, Chester last year, he scored 3 tries in that 3 games, which was great for me.
Mhm.
And a couple of line breaks across those with some good tackle break numbers as well, which Jai could do, but it's not against, the Titans and the Bulldogs in those couple of games as well. So, yeah, he's an easy one to watch, isn't he, Gray, for a week and see what happens after that. And if we get more news, maybe that he's going to get more games, and that's sweet. On the other side, mate, well, with the Euro one, obviously the worries are Talakai coming back. Have you heard anything around Talakai and why he's now been moved to the bench, or is it just, do you think that they saw Euro in that spot, he killed it, deserves the spot, and Talakai is the one to make way? Because he started the year really well, Talakai in centers.
Yeah, I find it a difficult one to read because of that one fact. Talakai started the year well. You overall, when you look at Talakai as a player over the last couple of years, he had that sensational run for about 6 weeks, and then it's just
Mm,
kind of existed. He's got a really, really good pass and is good at what he does, but other
yeah,
than that, the last 2 years, not so much. But he started this year pretty well.
like
Um,
meters and stuff, crazy. 160,
yeah,
150, 200,
yeah, I
defending
mean, look
as
at him go.
normal.
He was making a little bit of money until they shifted him to second row. So I did see one comment saying that Talakai has said that wouldn't be opposed to switching to the forwards, but like that's just a comment. Like how much
Mm,
weight do you put into that? So I think there's a really good chance. I'd probably put it about a 25-30% chance that it just goes straight back when
yeah,
Fords come back. And at the moment, given the fact that Ira could make so much money, that's probably a risk I'm willing to take.
yeah.
Because yeah, I mean that Ira wants to play, and if they don't play him at least a little bit, they'll lose him
Yeah, that's
because
right.
they've got these other guys.
Super talented, isn't he? Yeah, it's an interesting one because it's a risk that's, I don't know. Could you wait till next week? Is that a question?
It depends who's back next week, hey? Because who's in if we look at the Sharks team list, there's still a few players missing. Like there's no Finucane, there's no some of those other guys, but there is like Toby Rudolph in the reserve. So it
And
really depends on
Manueli as
who comes
well
back
on the
where.
reserves.
Yeah, it really depends on who's back next week as to whether we get that proper answer next week. But on that same side, he could be 310K next week, which, I mean, if you have role certainty, great. You might have avoided another Talagi, but I'd say his upside is a lot higher than Talagi's.
Yeah, I suppose we thought that Blazers you know, spot in that team was fairly safe. The only thing I'm seeing is very, very helpful for Iro is obviously he's talented, but Talakai, they never hold a guy that can cover in the outside backs on their bench, and they've now finally got that with Talakai. So
Mm.
that's probably the big thing that can kind of keep Kale there if he plays well. But what if, if Iro comes out and doesn't play that well, right? Has a bunch of missed tackles, few errors. Yes, he actually hasn't missed a tackle in the 2 games he's played, which is pretty cool. But it's the next Galvin, mate. And yeah, if he comes out and plays poorly like Blaze does, or the Sharks come out and lose on the weekend, then does he lose his spot too? I suppose that's the risk you're taking, but does the money making and the potential good score against the Rabbitohs this week supersede that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been burnt very badly by some bad luck this season from these type of players. But since I missed Cardi last year from, oh no, he'll probably only be there for a bit and then be gone, he's a trap. I find it easier to jump into these guys if there's really high upside. Because
Yeah.
even if you miss one or two of them, you might make 200 or 300K more than the next person, just have to spend another trade to get rid of one of them. So it is
Mm.
a high risk strategy, but like he's there for the taking if you want him.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And in the preseason, he was one of those guys that we just had locked. He was a lock in our sides, you know, even ahead of Ethan Strange. And like, we're like, well, if you get Euro, we get Euro. Like, he's the guy. That was what we were saying. But the worry was that we weren't going to get him. We've got him now. Is he going to stay there? That's the question. And a lot of people will jump on. I think it's about 4.5% or 5% at the moment that have jumped on. And then Crichton's the biggest upside play. Biggest increaser this week as well. Let's speak about the other two cheapies, mate. The three of them we'll say. We've got Schiller and Tom Chester. Any thoughts on Schiller, or is he just a bit of a no-go with his
I
stats?
don't really love it when
Yep.
you've got Hopewade to come back any week. I mean, he burned his hand. It's kind of a bit of a funny situation, but like Schiller's been doing really well,
Yeah, he's played good.
but I think his spot is a lot more dodgy than say Stewart.
Yeah.
I'd be much happier to jump on Stewart than Schiller. I
Tell us
think I think
about
I think Schiller's a really good super coach buy, not so much a fantasy buy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, thoughts on Stewart then?
Stewart, look, Stewart
230.
probably doesn't have perfect job security, but this is what you're looking for when you have a cash cow pop up because of an injury. Right up in a 6 to 8 weeks out, and the narrative was preseason. It's like, oh, Chevy wasn't ready. He'll be there eventually. He just needs time.
Mm.
Maybe it's earlier than they wanted, but
Could be
this is
close.
time. And he's
Close.
playing the Titans, so he could start off big anyway. So
Yeah.
um I think I think it's just load up on him because his break even is not -1 like Iro. You can easily buy this week, and you can probably get on him next week as well. But
Mm.
like, I don't see much to go wrong with Stewart.
Yeah, my only thing with him, mate, is the what we saw in the trials, and he, didn't really score very well. He kind of wasn't a big part of the squad, in any of their attack and all that kind of stuff, and they played well in that trial. So that's my only worry with him. But I think it's just a clear wait and see a week. But I suppose some trades that we're gonna have to do if people are trying to get to a Hynes, they might, that 30K for Euro or something like that, they
Mm.
might not be able to get it. So they will jump on Stewart. And my only thoughts there, guys, is that if he comes out and he doesn't score well, like he's got the spot likely, which is good. But if he doesn't come out and score well, how many other cheap guys do you currently have in your side that aren't playing? Whether it's Chan, whether it's Talangi, Pikura, if you got a Kotrick, like if you got all these types of guys, so just be aware of getting another one that is a risk, in my opinion. I think Eero is way less of a risk than Stewart.
Mm.
Stewart's got the spotlight sewn up, but Eero, I think you can bank on him actually being a player in your 17 as well. Like Stewart, if you buy him this week and you've got 19 available, you're looping him, aren't you?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you'd be
Mm.
matchup based for
Yeah.
most weeks. I
Well,
think he's
Titans this
that
week, yeah.
guy who'd be fringe matchup based. So next week I'd not play or I'd loop him. This
Yeah.
week I'd be more confident, but I mean, there's still a lot of players that people don't have. I'm triple looping myself. He'd be one that'd be in there if I did.
Yeah, nice. There you go. Let's speak about Chester, mate. I forgot about him in the big video. I got him in the small one there, but obviously really consistent, scored some tries at fullback, but playing at center, that 34, is that a little bit more of what you'd expect from his scoring in this, good attacking side, and he's got good, work ethic and base?
I think that Chester is the type of player who will do all right at fantasy. I don't think he'll be an absolute massive superstar. He
Mm.
doesn't quite have the huge base of somebody like, well, I want to say Penasini, but that's only with Moses. So somebody like a Dane Gagai has a lot of run meters, tick for Tom Chester,
Yeah.
and a lot of tackles. Not so much, but you put them together and you still get a 27. Add
Yeah.
some stuff onto that and you got some points. So price at 25, pretty good. I'm probably not going to jump on at the moment. I'm probably going to wait and see and go for the other higher upside guys. But if a Chester works for your team and you are hoping he might get the duel, um, could be good. I don't know how he'll have to play a few games there though, surely. Maybe he won't get it until later.
Hmm. What's this week coming, hey? And then afterwards they'll do the duels. It might
Think
be
so,
enough.
yeah.
Might be enough because they know that he's going to be there long term. Like if he gets named next
Yeah.
week, they might because after the namings next week, isn't it? Oh, is that right? Or after this week? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I can't
I
remember.
think they do it like the Wednesday after TLT, so he'll get 2 games there probably.
Yeah, so that might be enough. But anyway, if you need a wing fullback, are you selecting Stewart over him?
Probably just because I would see like sort of similar scores for over 100k difference. So like I'd still say Cheston probably outscores Stewart, but not enough
Hmm.
that I'd be happy to get Stewart in.
And then on the next level, another 130k up to Jaden Campbell. Thoughts around him?
Campbell's a funny one, hey, because we were like, oh, Titans are washed. Keeney couldn't do anything, and then Campbell comes out and pops out a 60, which was interesting. So
Hmm.
it did have a lot of attacking stats. I think it had like 2 turnovers, two
Try
uh
savers.
try saves, a try, and this. You take that off and it's 34, and all of a sudden you go, oh. But like, I mean, 34 without any of that stuff, it's still not bad. Like you add a try assist, some extra tackle breaks, and you're getting those 40s and 45s and that you're sort of looking for at his price point. So I'm happy for you to go Campbell as well. If you need a really consistent, solid scorer in your team, I think Campbell's a good buy. I don't have him personally at the moment just because I've got so many players at that kind of price. I've got Carraz and I've got Pap and Turbo and uh, used to be Penasini, but yeah, I don't want to add another 400k guy there. If you don't have many, he's a good buy. For me, it doesn't quite work. For you,
Yeah.
it might.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm missing the big dogs. I'm missing the turbos and the pongers. So that's where I want to be looking at. Mate, let's go into just some of the top ranking guys. Got the hooking position here. Yeah, is Harry Grant or any of these hookers someone you'd like to target? Obviously, with Cook being dropped, if you had to sell him, who would you grab in the hooking position?
It's a really tough ask if you do have to sell him because I mean, your Robson and your Marnie have already made a lot of money and they're getting close to Grant in price, especially Robson.
Yeah,
And I I really don't want to say Marnie's the best because he doesn't play Origin because I mean he
he's
leads
killing
the
it.
comp for tackles, but he also pretty much leads it for missed tackles as well. But um he's been good. He's averaging what 54, 55 or something like that.
56
And
this
he's
year, yeah.
just yeah, it's a big jump from what we were thinking before. I would still probably prefer Robson to him,
Hmm.
but I'm increasingly of the opinion that it's going to be Robson and maybe Arpey as the New South Wales hooker ahead of Cook. So
Yeah.
then if you're buying Robson for non-origin ahead of Grant, I don't know if you're going to get that out of him.
Are you making decisions on mid range and above with an eye on round 13 from this round?
Yeah, I think you have to just purely because we've used so many trades as well. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna have to try and ease our way through that period without running out of trades. Like last year we stressed don't run out, don't run out, don't run out. But honestly, with how rough it's been to start the year, I think a lot of us are gonna run out. And as long as we give ourselves as good a shot as possible of getting through that period unscathed, um, I think it's a good thing. Even in round 6, it's not too early to begin those decisions.
Yeah. I do feel like we triple and quadruple traded too many, like not just us, everyone, like tripled and quadruple traded too much. And that just goes like you do that 2 or 3 weeks and that's where all the
Mm.
trades go. Like we're double trading at the moment. It's not the worst in the world. Because you get what 1.7 trades a week or whatever it ends up being,
Yeah.
27 by 44. Yeah, like it's a decent amount. But it's just yeah, when people go 4 4 4 and they're mucking around with wasted sideways trades, I think that's what you and I especially need to look at. Considering have you double traded every week except first
I
or
sa I wish I had spent more trades than I have actually,
yeah,
paradoxically. Held the first week and then two every week since then. But I wish I'd
yeah,
made
yeah.
one. Tupanua to Terrell May in
Oh
round 2
God,
would have set me up for getting Galvin the first week and then making another trade last week instead of having to run around and scratch my head and get the wrong player. So
that's true.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like I want the extra one each week. Just It's annoying. Mids, mate. If would you look at any of the top tier mids at the moment, the guys that are averaging the most? Like we've got some interesting ones with like a Cam McInnes. Like, do we think that he's going to continue getting big minutes? Yeah. What are you
I
looking at with Terrell May? Is he just a guy that we're holding this week after a weird minutes game?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. There was 50 different theories floating around. Did he have the
Yeah.
flu? Did he have COVID? Did he miss the team bus like Greg Marzhew? I think you just have to hold and wait and see because if he gets 20 minutes again, it's alarm bells, and if not, it's it was probably just a once off. He was sick or
Yeah.
something, and then away we go. Cameron McInnes, he will score very well for the next while the Sharks forwards are out. He didn't he play 80 minutes last week or something?
Yeah.
It was a lot, so he will score. Fantastic, but like he's at a price where I don't think he's a cash cow, and I also don't know if he's somebody you want in your team at the end of the year if he's
Mm.
not getting those sort of minutes. So I think he's all right, but I don't. If you have him at the moment, you'd be very happy. I don't know if I'd go out and buy him.
Played 40
Um,
in round one and 80 in round five, round four. It's just wild.
yeah.
Mate, mentioned just they got the two Warriors forwards. Adam Fanua-Blake had a few lighter minute games, still averaging 54, and then Tohu at the 54 as well. Any interest in them or anyone else on this list, or even a
Tohu,
mid-range mid?
if you're gonna go for somebody who's a really nice, solid scorer to hold down that position for a lot of the year, I think Tohu Harris is all right. Um, I think there's probably a chance Utokumani plays Origin now. Hey, he's
Mm.
made some money getting up there in price. I think he'll be a good scorer in the 50s somewhere. I don't know if I can project him really super high because there has been a lot of injuries in some of those games, like especially last week.
Oh yeah,
Uh, like he's not going to get what was it 67 minutes or something again, but he's doing really well. He's got that role that sort of Clemmer had 2 years ago, and he's doing well. But yeah, I think that he has a little bit, and he's got some good opportunity to score well in your team. But yeah, this is the sort of play I'd now go. Do I go a Utoi Kumanu, who I'll possibly need to trade out again,
mm.
or do I go for somebody who might stay there or has a better chance of staying there for most of the rest of the year?
Yeah. Would you still see like a Josh Curran as a potential buy this week?
That it's
Max
a
King
real
is
tough
out
one.
now too.
I I probably see him as like Kai Pierce Paul, but limited time frame. I don't like. I think he's all
Yeah.
right, but I like think he has like 100K and no more in him. That sort
Yeah.
of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Dual position, solid, I suppose. Decent buy schedule, but we have enough dogs, most of us anyway. I'm not going to answer the question because I'm still crying inside. But is people are asking me, is Morgan Smithies a buy?
Uh, he's up there. If you need a mid, he's one of the best options. But
Mm.
like, yeah, he's 580. What?
And then
It's
Horsburgh
just
got
hard to know
injured
what
too.
minutes are we expecting. Are we expecting the beginning of the year where he's getting 65? That'd be good. Was he going to get a couple of really big minute games and play the 80
Yeah.
once in a while? I don't know. But yeah, he sort of is only base stats. And we've
Mm.
seen that. We've reveled in it for a week or two when he was getting the minutes. But then when he didn't, it's like, oh, he just scored 37 in 61 minutes. That's terrible because he had nothing else. So
33. Thank
I
you,
think he's
Scoot.
all right, but I don't think he's going to be a guy who will sit at 700K all year.
Yeah, what I will say with Morgan, guys, is that watching that game, he had the best game I think that he could have in his career if he wasn't to score a try, and he still only got 59. Like he played full 80, got his offload, got his tackle break. He literally was running one and two times a set half the time. Like I think he had 17, 18 runs, and he still got 59. So that's the only thing I'll say, that he had to have an absolute blinder, and he did. He sure did. On the edge, mate, we've got really not too many of these guys have been bought up. Jacob Laban, little sneaky 0.5%, not on many people's radars, but the other one there was Xavier Wilson's actually 32% owned already. He's 311, I believe. Any interest in him? Like, I think he's kind of keeps his spot now, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got Ford's out and he's back in, he's probably going to stay there. So have you heard much on the Jordan Ricky injury front? Because there was whispers going
Just,
around that there might be.
I think it's just
Yeah.
this week. If he's very unlikely to play, it's just this week, it seems.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, Willison's all right. Like, There was worry about his minutes, but like there's less minutes to go around for everybody else because they're gone, so there's more for him. I probably said that backwards, but yeah. So I
All
think
right.
he's all right. I don't know if I'd go out of my way and
Hmm.
instantly grab him this millisecond because he's a fantastic option. He's good, but yeah, he sort of falls into that an alternate option who I'm not going for because I'm looking for probably somebody else like an Iro maybe.
Yeah, House is returning in a couple of weeks too, as well. So
Hmm.
that's that. Yeah, kind of missed out on Eli Katoa's big score. Would you chase that now? He's priced at 50 on the dot.
Only if you're looking for a keeper there. Like, I don't
Yes.
see too many situations where you'd be looking for somebody like that. I'd probably just go for like an Angus or a Bloor or something
Yeah.
like that.
Sweet. Talk us through Bloor, mate, at 526. I'm really happy with what I saw on the weekend. And I think if Howarth isn't there, he probably gets 80 this week.
Yeah, well, they brought him there for a reason, and he uh spent his time not starting the year, getting to impress Bellamy and learning the system a bit. And first game, you can see round three, 35 and 73 minutes. He didn't look great. Has a week off, comes back 2 weeks more prepared, 45 in 64 minutes when the Storm were absolutely cooking. And he looked good. He actually looked good. I think that spot is his now.
Yeah.
If we're not going to have Howarth there, I would be more confident in 80. And then he goes back to the wow. He could be a 50-point average guy that
Yeah.
we sort of thought at the Tigers and at the beginning of the year. And I mean, at 518K, that's not too bad.
It's so, it's so hard to get a judge. Hey, it's absolutely all over the shop. He had this little run at the back end of 2021. That's how long ago since he's had a bit of a, three or 4 or 5 games on the trot with good minutes. Because like even he, named it at lock, played it second row, had a couple games of second row, and it's like, straight back to the bench. Like it's all over the shop. Though that could happen with Joe Chan as well. So it's a
Hmm.
wild situation that of Shawnee. But yeah, price at 38 has some upside, couple of buys to come, like the round 13 and 19. It's a little bit frustrating because if you're buying Blore, surely he's a guy that we're at least getting to the end of the buy period. Hey, like he'd probably sell in 19 if he wasn't a clear keeper.
Yeah, I'd say that'd be a good spot to upgrade him to a proper gun at that point. I think
Mm.
he will be that fringe keeper if he keeps that big minute edge roll.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone in the halves, mate, you want to look at is like people are buying Sean Johnson this week. Obviously, guys like Nico Hynes and then Jerome Hughes are clearly on this list. DCE a little bit as well. Who are your thought? What are your thoughts around those guys?
Yeah, I wouldn't buy DCE. I had him in my anti-fantasy team because Brooks was taking too much stuff away from him, and then they just had a blinder and 13 plus Penrith, who I
Yeah.
think nobody saw coming. So, look, he's kicking for a lot less meters until last week.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, his break even's still 44. I think he can definitely wait and see what's going to happen, and he's going to play Origin.
Yeah.
Shawnee Johnson is a really interesting one because he's dropped a bit, and he is a bit cheaper than Hynes and Cleary, although they've dropped a bit too, to be honest. So the gap's still
940.
probably the same.
Yeah.
The good thing is he's got goals back, but the bad thing is that, like the Storm, he misses 13 and 19. So the weeks that you probably wanted him for, he's also going to be on the sidelines. So for head to head, perfect buy right now. For overall, not so much.
And then he's out in round 27 as well, I suppose. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I do see it as a good one, but yeah, to pay up another 125 to get Nico and or Cleary next week, that seems the better play. And then who was the other one? We had Jerome Hughes, mate. He looks like he's a much better player at the moment than the last 2 years, anyway.
Yeah, well, I think he's taking over a bit more from Munster because we've been all excited, like, oh, Munster had a down year now, he'll pop back up. And well, I
He's
mean,
not
it's
well.
been one game, but Hughes still massively outscored him.
Yeah.
Usually Hughes takes over more when Munster isn't there and does more. But what even with Munster there, 2 tries, 2 assists, 2 line break assists, it's all there and all for him. So he's oh, hang on, no, that's Shawnee Johnson's. I'm still on Johnson's page
He'd be
now, but
similar
yeah,
to that anyway.
yeah,
Tries and try assists.
it's yeah, it's still good for him. So I think there is a good opportunity for him to be a great scorer. I don't know where he ranks in the final halves rankings though, and he's already 745K. So probably not one I would I would go forward classic. I would maybe try and get some sneaky trades for him in draft
Mm.
because he could be a guy who averages 55 this year. But I mean, there's a lot of better scorers in the halves, and he's sort of priced at that.
Yeah, definitely. Mate, let's just go for the Hynes versus Cleary. Which one would you pick? Obviously, Hynes can be this week. If you couldn't get them this week and it's Hynes versus Cleary next week, who do you pick?
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Panthers have a ridiculous run, right? The next four afterwards, which is the only reason I'm holding
Yeah.
Taylor May. I'm hoping for a try, just one try.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's a rough one because they both got really good runs for the bit. Hines does have a Sharks have a shocking run for about 5 weeks and then it goes back to great again for the rest of the year. I
yeah,
think they condensed all of their hard matches into one area.
but his
But yeah,
is he might not make Origin, right? That's the only. I think that's the positive with him. But Cleary's run here, Tigers, Cows, Bunnies, Bulldogs after when he comes back is wild.
yeah, it's I'm just a little bit more convinced that Cleary will be have the stats be better, but he doesn't seem to have the magic ghosties this year. Hines
No,
is still getting those points out of nowhere, which is a bit frustrating if you're not a Hines owner. So
true.
honestly, I don't know if I have a good answer because there's options on both sides. If you're trying to antipod a little bit, I think he's a really solid option at this point because usually it's, oh, you can't start without Cleary and you're going to get really hurt if you go Hines. But now that a lot of people have sold off Cleary, it's a real good opportunity to pick one or the other.
Yeah,
And
probably
it could
even.
be a
Hey,
good opportunity. Yeah, I think they're really quite even. Cleary better
26.
run, Hines better chance of not making Origin. Panthers better Origin schedule, but they do rest a lot, so maybe not. It's hard to really make a good decision. I think it just comes down to personal preference.
Yeah, 20, just under 27 for Cleary, 20 at the moment for Hines, but that might increase. So it'll be fairly close coming into next week. That's for sure. Yeah, that's wild. He's averaging 63, Cleary 61. So
Mm.
definitely like some room to grow for those couple. Centers, is it just it's center merry-go-round with the cheapies at the moment? Would you look at a Joey Manu, a Lomax, any of those types of guys?
I wanted Lomax fullback at the beginning of the year,
Mm,
and now that he's even more expensive than he was at the beginning of the year, I like 649K Lomax would be really, really juicy. But
what's he now?
I don't know
700.
if I can do it at the
Oh,
price
let's
in
see.
the team that he's in. Manu, you know what Manu's going to give you year on year. He started really well at center as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, what are you what are you expecting to pay up for at that price? And he's a little bit more expensive. Yeah, he does have no buy until round 14 though, so you can have him all that time with a couple of soft matches and get him for fullback for that game. If
Plays
you're
13,
buying Manu now,
16.
you're probably buying him for the rest of the year, or
Mm.
at least through that buy period.
Yeah, you can maybe sell 19, but he's got that buy a bit later too. So, but yeah, like
Mm.
play 13, play 16, 17. Pretty cool. So that's 3 games of fullback at least for this week coming, Cowboys, Dogs. So it's an interesting one, but we usually get him a lot cheaper at this point of the year, but he's actually playing better than ever, isn't he? At center,
Yeah, that's the
especially.
thing. We usually go Teddy and Manu cheap, pick them up on the bottom swing. It didn't look like it was going to happen at all, but then, well, Teddy did what he did, and now he
Yeah.
will be cheap in a couple of weeks. So yeah, there's one to ponder as well. Do you pick him up before Origin? But yeah, Manu, I just think he's too much money for me when there's other guys who I want to buy instead.
Yeah, for sure. He got that 12 in round two. We got a bit excited. We might get him cheap, but then he just went bang, bang, bang. And had that stupid try disallowed too, the Dylan Edwards Hargraves one. So yeah,
Mm,
he could have even more. People are buying Chance, mate. Do you see him as a good purchase at all? Yeah, I had him
no.
as just pegged at about the same as last year. He looked
Yeah,
great. Man, he looked great.
he looks really good, but also he's not as fantasy relevant game as some of the others. He's not quite that humongous try scoring, humongous try assisting fullback like your top options are, and that sets him below the others. So last year he averaged 4 tackle breaks, 182 meters,
Mm.
but he averaged 40 because he didn't have a lot of try assists or a lot of tries. So I think Like, you can argue that's room for him upside, but Warriors had a really good year last year.
He was
And
incredible. Yeah.
yeah, like how much more are you seeing from
Yeah.
him at that price already? I'd prefer some of the others.
Yeah, for sure. And mate, just to finish this one off, and thanks again for jumping on. And yeah, it's really helpful for everyone here. But Kalen Ponga, mate, how much of a must have is he? And like, is he a very big priority? Because I'm
I
trying to
am
work this out
ex
myself.
I'm extremely upset that I've gone Turbo over him. Even though Turbo scored 66, I'm just scared of Ponga. I
I haven't
have
even
too
got
much
Turbo.
money at the back and like, oh, I want him so much. But yeah, be
Hmm.
good. He will be good. Just get him if he not a lot of situations where you shouldn't get him, so just get him.
So
For
you're
me,
just
probably one of the few I'm not
can't.
as keen on, but far out,
Yeah.
I want him. I want him so much.
Yeah, the run's hectic, and he's playing just as good as the back end of
Oh,
last year. The Knights aren't humming as much, but he's playing as good, I think.
oh, Dogs, Tigers, Gold Coast. Oh, I'm gonna get flogged.
Exactly.
Mm.
That's and even like Roosters this week, they're decimated a bit. Like Knights are starting to play a bit better. I'm like, oh, how do I not do it? But for me this week, I want Hynes, I want Ponga, I want Iro, and I want Crichton. I have two trades.
Yeah, it's
So
almost
it's
like pick
like
one big and one small.
which two? Yeah, that's right. And which combination at the moment? And then you're trying to like with the buys coming up for the Dogs, Raiders, Eels. I've had multiple plays in each of them. You can't really carry any of those guys that are just dead wood, right? Because then you're not even playing 17 in those weeks.
No,
So
you need to get rid of them. We saw how rough the buys were last year, and
yeah.
I mean we're seeing how rough it is with one buy and injuries. With that Storm one last week, it was horrendous.
Oh, it's ridiculous, mate. Thanks again for coming on. Yeah, really appreciate it, and hopefully a good week for both of us this week. We're due for it, aren't
Yeah, 900 this week, surely.
we? We'll lose ranks for 900. Everyone get 1,000. See you guys.